Hey guys, what's happening? I'll give you guys a little bit of an update about what's going on right now. Um, yeah, I like to say I'm going to keep it short, but I say that every time, and something always happens, and we end up being on here longer than expected. But I am going to try to just keep it straight to the point tonight, guys. This won't really go take all that long, but I do got some stuff I want to talk to you guys about. I got a correction. I made a mistake yesterday. Not really a mistake. Okay, not in that direct sense, I guess. I should have explained a little bit more about what a cannibal CME is. Hey, what's up, Tommy? And everybody else in there. Cindy Lou, what's happening? Um, but yeah, a cannibal CME, I'll go over that in just a second. That's a term that's been widely used for a while now, and it's, when you hear cannibal, the word cannibal, what's that saying? Obviously you're eating the same species, right? Um, that's not exactly what happens when we talk about a cannibal CME. And actually, I was watching Tammy Scove yesterday, and she talked about that, and it sparked my memory. I should have just explained it more when I was talking about it. Um, so anyway, it ain't like it eats it, but we'll get into that in just a second. So yeah, guys, we've had another eruption, multiple eruptions still. And again, like I said, guys, last night, that this stuff was going to be, hey, seventh, fluctuating. And it's going to be doing this for days. I told you that their forecast would change, and it has. And it's going to continue to change. There's nothing that's going to stay exactly, what we thought it was going to be. It never does. And like I said, if our magnetic field handles it pretty well, we're probably going to see just a little bit less. And if it doesn't handle it as well, we'd see a little bit more active. Well, we're kind of right in the middle, just to be honest with you. You can definitely see where you're getting different impacts. Okay, you can see here on the geomagnetic activity chart here, geomagnetic storm graph, and what you're seeing here, that's a G2. Okay, that's what they would consider a moderate storm. There are things that can happen with that, but we stayed in those conditions for roughly around 6 hours. Now, when we're talking about that too, that also matters. These are the highest point that it gets in that time frame. So yeah, guys, can you hold on a second, Heather? Huh? It wasn't plugged in. Guarantee it. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Had real life happening. Anyway, we're back again. So yeah, guys. So this here is just like an average of those 3 hours. Okay, I think the way this one works, the highest point that it reaches on the KP is what they plot this at. So if it hits G2 at all, it puts it there. And you can't think of getting into a geomagnetic storm and it stays that level the whole time. It fluctuates the whole time. And it actually fluctuates depending on your position on the planet. So that's all variable. But anyway, you get a blast here, then we kind of dropped out. That's kind of what I was saying yesterday. Then a blast again, kind of dropped out, blast again, and this is exactly what we would expect, right? Sorry about that, guys. I was a little distracted. I tell you what, there's always something going on when you got teenagers in the house. Promise you that. Anyway, but yeah, so geomagnetic storm 2, G2 level storm, G1, G1, and we got more coming. Okay. We're just going to have to basically grin and bear this. This isn't something that's, an extremely bad thing, because it's not. But I do want to point out that as we scroll down through here, look at the percentages now. They got us at 40% chance of having an R1 or an R2, which is radio blackout conditions. If you get to an R1, that's it. That's the bottom of an M-class flare. Okay, so there's a 40% chance of that within the next 3 days. And what's going on is we've got more sunspots now too. So the one that's starting to rotate off actually erupted again. And it sent a pretty decent one, and this one looks to be coming right at us. Okay, I think, judging by what I was seeing, it looks like it's going to hit us more head on than the rest of these. So here in about 3 days, we could be seeing something bigger than what we've got now. And if our conditions are still fluctuating and we still got a lot of geomagnetism hanging around, that could really, map out something for like a G3 or a G4. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but this last eruption does look like it's going to hit us head on. At least from what these models are showing. Now the NASA spiral model, like this one, this is over here at NOAA. Its spiral model was showing like a really direct hit. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at this. This is NOAA's forecasting. And actually, I'm going to show you this too right here, but I'm going to take you to a site. Now look, see that? That is that one that I'm talking about. All right. So to explain, if you look at my cursor, well, let's just do that. Look at the yellow line here. I'll take you to current time. About right there. That's the conditions we're experiencing right now. They're forecasting us to be hit again. And notice, you see these little dips right here? That could be CME behind CME. That could be solar wind being incorporated there. And remember, the solar wind can kind of steer these things. Notice a lot of these, the direction is actually south of the Earth, or a southerly direction. And the reason why is because of that solar wind stream. And we talked about that yesterday, with, how that can control or help steer these things in certain directions. Hey, Ripper. But yeah, so in case I haven't said this in a while either, the green line here, the one at the top and here, those are the conditions at Earth. Now the red line is the conditions at Stereo A. Stereo A is right here. It's that little red dot right there. And I show you guys those. That's our side view. Stereo B we're not going to talk about because we don't get to see any of that data. There was some stuff that happened years ago. They actually lost contact with it for a minute, a good minute, and then they got it back. So that's why we don't really talk about that. We used to have 2 of them out here and had a really good view of the backside. Not the case anymore. But you can see, look at that, 1, 2, 3, there's 4 CMEs right there. Now this is current. This is what it looks like right now according to this model. So what that's telling me is we're starting to get hit again. As you can see that. Now watch this one here. One on the back. I'm going to see if I can't zoom in a little bit more for you guys. Okay, that's better. Sorry about that, guys. I should have done that already. I don't know why I wasn't doing that. Okay, so look at that thing. Okay, and again, we want to look at the perspectives. This is a top-down view. This is a side cut. So this will kind of give us a left or right, or east-west, and this will give us a north-south. So if it's hitting in the middle on all three, on both of those, the model's saying it's going to take a pretty good hit right there. Now see what it's doing here. Okay. Now what you're seeing there is because there was like a double explosion, but this one is not that. So depending on if this thing is exactly correct, which they very seldom are that far out. Okay. This can go one way or the other. This could, because right here it kind of looks like, for whatever reason, we're splitting the difference here. It looks like that CME may have got caught up in some of the solar wind stream and is getting kind of stretched out, and it's pulling some of the plasma and some of the particles north and south, and Earth is almost like getting right in the middle of that. And it looks here like Stereo B is going to take a direct hit right there. But let's look at this like this again. So now this is just density. Okay, down here's the wind speed. So the stuff is still pretty intense. Okay, so if I back this up again, we'll just start this from the beginning. This is what it looked like 2 days ago. At least that's what this model says. And you can see the double blast right there. I can't go back any further, or I would, but let's see if I can't zoom in a little bit more here. Yeah, it's not gonna do, it ain't gonna do me no good if I do. It ain't moving. Anyway, if you guys look at that, you can see there's two different CMEs. Let me see if I, goodness. Okay. So you can kind of see two separate CMEs right there. And then you see a third one right there. Notice how fast it's moving. Now look right behind it. There's another small one. Okay. And then that kind of catches up, right? And they kind of combine into one almost. And you know, and some people would call that a cannibal CME, and I'm going to explain that here in just a second. But here's the other eruption, the bigger eruption I'm talking about right now. So let me show you the eruption there on. Let's go over here to seeds and show it to you. Where did it go? Where'd it go, man? That ain't it. That ain't it. That ain't it. Did I not have seeds up? I thought I did, but I guess I didn't. So let's pull it up. Okay, so if we go here on the 18th, and actually, guys, remember, you can go down here and click on the highlighted ones, and it'll typically, if it sees a CME, it'll plot it here and give you like 9 images or however many it needs to show you what the CME is. But we're going to just look at the whole day, and it's right here. Okay, now this is stereo A, and this is our side view. Earth's over here, right? So, now, what I want to point out is you can see how we got kind of a hazy look all through here, right? It's kind of a halo look. So just because the main brunt of this doesn't, you know, it looks like it could sideswipe us here, doesn't mean that it's going to, and it doesn't mean that it actually can't. It's probably going to hit us, is what I'm trying to say. It's wider north-south than what it appears here. Now, the more intense plasma here most definitely is there. But so if we go like this, you can kind of see it explode out. And, you know, again, multiple eruptions. So let me go up here to Soho. Okay. Now, this will allow me to show you that halo thing I'm talking about here. And it's important to understand this, okay, guys? So please try to understand what I'm saying on this one, because this is a little bit more detailed than what I typically get. This is the occulter disk. Remember, this is on a satellite 1 million miles closer to the sun, always looking at the sun. All right? And that's its job. That's what it does. Now, a second part of this, the job of this one, is it was kind of a secondary mission for this satellite. It catches a lot of sun divers and sun grazers. Okay? So, yeah. But, so, to speak on this eruption here, it erupts out. Right? There it is. Now, no, I'm not going to go into why the camera does this. Actually, Tamatoscope does a really good explanation of that also, on why this kind of gets like a more softer look when these things happen. I'm not going to go into detail on that. It has to do with the camera, just so you know. But as this erupts out, you could kind of faintly see almost like a shadow, right? That's a halo. See how it kind of grew out here? See that? I mean, this is even though it's not like really, really visible there, it most definitely is wide and tall, I guess you could say. North, south, and east, west. Overall, it's big in size. That doesn't speak to its power. It just speaks to how big it is. All right? So if I keep going forward, you guys can see that again, and then another eruption. Now, I'm not sure about this one. I don't think this one's coming at us. This one really does look like it's going straight off to our west. And again, remember, when you're looking at these satellites, east-west is reversed. Why they did that, I know why, but I'm not talking about it because it takes... I'm not going to waste time trying to explain it to you guys tonight. But anyway, you can see what's going on here. You know, what I'm saying is the sun's not calming down. Okay? Now, that's important because even though right now we are, let's go here real quick. Go ahead, back off of that. Even though we are only in G1, G2 levels, doesn't mean, and it's actually, if this stuff hangs around long enough, if we keep getting these smaller hits, I could say, I guess, and then the big one comes after that. And I ain't saying that it's a big one, but it does have, even mainstream, they're watching this really, really close. Okay, and I don't say that lightly. Okay, I don't typically say that kind of stuff, and I'm not inducing fear here at all, because I'm not scared at all. You guys shouldn't either. I'm not talking about grid down, okay? But there is an outside chance, okay? Things would have to happen in a really, like, I guess, perfect storm type of scenario here. But we could see some grid issues off of this, okay? And again, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Matter of fact, I'm telling you guys that most likely it's not. Okay, but I have to, you know, at least be able to tell you guys that it's possible. And I don't, and again, you guys know I don't say those kinds of things unless it actually probably, you know, in my opinion, would be possible. And sometimes I don't even mention it then because it doesn't do any good. But because of the multiple CMEs here, you know, I just feel like I need to say it because it is possible. Again, now what kept us from getting to G3 instead of G2s and all this other stuff that we've been talking about? Well, one of the main culprits, guys, is the BZ. Okay, and the BZ, I talk about this all the time with you guys. You know, it's got to be in a negative orientation, -6 or more, for it to really give us some really good hits. You can definitely see, and I talked about this yesterday, it's fluctuating quite often. That's because we're getting multiple hits. You know, one right after the other. So, anyway, you can see how it got down into here, and right down and through here is when we were in storm level. As soon as it went back to a positive orientation, we got out of storm level because our magnetic field started deflecting it. It wasn't coming in as easy, right? So when I say look at this almost first every time to see what its orientation is, I mean it, because that's really one of the main, if not the most important factor of how hard something's going to hit, outside of the actual direction that the CME is moving. Okay, this is really the first data point I look at, because if I come over here and I look at this thing and it's in an extreme positive position, you know, I'm not going to be like, well, I guess we're not going to be getting nothing out of that one. And I'd say 99% of the time that ends up being the case. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now notice over here we're talking 600 kilometers per second, and that's even higher there, 629. Let's see here, yeah, something like that, 629. But to put that in perspective, for about, if you can kind of, 400 kilometers per second is roughly 1,000,000 miles per hour. Okay, it's really close. Now you guys can do the math on that, but we're when it gets up to 600, we're looking at about 1.5 million miles per hour. That's how fast this thing's moving. The solar wind. Yeah, there you go, Deep Quake, Paul. Solar wind speed 554. It's like right now. Yeah, BZ. And I'm going to show you guys something that I've not ever showed you guys here on this channel. Okay, this is something that I look at from time to time, and it's a really, you know, I definitely want you guys to check out spaceweather.com, but there are other hubs out there too. Okay, this is Space Weather Live. Anybody can go look at this, right? And what you're looking at here, that's a KP of 5. It says the threshold got reached, which is why NOAA is showing us at a G1. So that is agreeing with one another there. Okay, And then, you know, and even this here, I like this too, because it breaks it down into high latitude and mid latitude, right? So active conditions, 5% chance, minor storm levels, 15, severe storm level, 75%. Okay, when we're talking severe, you're talking G4, G5 storms. Okay, so if you're living up towards the poles, that's what you're looking at there. So, and to put that in perspective for people that don't really understand what I'm saying there, towards the poles, geomagnetism gets in easier. That's why the storming is more intense up there. So much so that when we take these bigger hits, if you're standing in the northern hemisphere in a place where you can see aurora, like say you're inside the Arctic Circle or what have you, you may have to go outside and actually turn around and look south to see the aurora. Okay, so just know that happens. It happens quite often. And I know it sounds kind of like a backwards thing to do, but it's exactly what happens when we get these bigger hits. You know, the magnetic field is moving and everything else, and so when you're up there that far north, sometimes you got to turn around and look south to see the aurora. That's something that they know pretty much up there, and I don't think a lot of people here know that. And that's why I'm mentioning it. Now on the south pole or the southern hemisphere, typically you would go outside and you would look south, right? But in situations like this, sometimes they got to turn around and look north. Like during the Carrington event, I think that they were saying that even people that were like in like the Dakotas, North Dakota, they actually had to turn and look south. So that was a big hit. That's what, you know, listen, we talk about the Carrington event, and that is kind of event horizon time for everybody. I know everybody references that, and the only reason why I do is because everybody pretty much recognizes what that is. So it's an easy way to, you know, get people's mind wrapped around what you're trying to say. But that's not the only event, guys. 1980 was it 89, I believe, the Canadian blackout, right? That whole region went down from a geomagnetic storm. Okay, it shut the power grid off in Canada, and a big section of it from a storm. So, and that's not too many years back. So why do we think that we're so special that that's never going to happen to us? That is one of the curses of living in, you know, our great country is awesome, but one of the curses is when you grow up in this environment, you oftentimes start thinking nothing can happen to you. It always happens somewhere else, right? Think about that for a second. Really, think about that. So what I'm saying is that when the big stuff happens, people that have not had those privileges are going to be better off than what we will be over here, because we're simply just not prepared for it, because we don't think it can happen to us. And I'm here to tell you it will. And it won't be just a regional thing. It will be a global thing when the big one hit, when we get a big one. So people better pay attention and better start, telling their kids, not necessarily about what I'm talking about, but say, hey, listen, the rest of the world don't have it as good as we do. So recognize that and understand that, we should be paying attention to that. So anyway, there's a lot of good information over here at Space Weather Live. Okay. They do it really well here. The KP index forecast Friday, they're talking to KPS 6. I think they're using NOAA's forecast. Okay. But it's just a hub, right? So there's a lot of space weather information here that you can just go look at. And solar wind right there, interplanetary magnetic field. That's yeah. And then solar wind. And here's the other interplanetary magnetic field. This is the BZ. That's the BT or whatever they call that one. I forget what they call it. BT, I believe. Yeah, it's BT. So that's what they call it. To be honest with you guys, I don't know what BT actually. I need to look that up because I want to know that. You know, I understand the VZ, but that might be like a phi angle thing. I'm not sure. I have to look. But anyway, I will look that and figure that out because I'm trying to educate myself too. So if anybody knows what that actually means, type it in there, put it in my comment section, something. I want to learn. Again, I make mistakes, right? And on that note, let me, well, before we go there, because I'll explain that at the end. Let's, and you see how the BZ is just kind of, it's not really staying negative orientation for very long. And that's a big reason why we haven't got into G3 storms. But as we speak, it does look like conditions are kind of, you know, they might be moving a little bit more towards another hit at some point here. One thing I will note here is we're back into a positive orientation too. So we're going to be defending this off pretty well. But yeah. So anyway, anyhow, anywho. Okay. But yeah, I really wanted to show you that right there because this is a really good hub that people could come look at. They put a lot of information here. Okay. They've even got a links page, and I mean, I would go check them out if I was you guys. Matter of fact, let's just put this link in the chat. And you guys know what I say. Everybody needs to be watching everybody. Okay? And I have respect for everybody. Just understand that, okay? I've made mistakes, you know, here on YouTube. I really have. I made a lot of them, and I let you guys see it. I don't try to hide my mistake. I come out here and I tell you, hey, I made a mistake. I'm going to try to correct it. I watch somebody else explain it, somebody that was more educated than myself, and I try to pass that on. I hope people understand that. And again, I've talked about that before, and that's why I leave my mistakes out there, guys. A lot of channels will go out there, well, that's wrong, I'm just going to pull it down. I don't know that that's the right thing to do. I ain't saying it's the wrong thing to do. I'm just saying I don't know for every case. I'm not sure it's the right thing to do. So I think people need to understand that it's okay to make a mistake. And I'm not ashamed when I make a mistake. The reason I'm not ashamed is because I don't have the ego. I don't have the pride. And, you know, I understand that that's part of the process. And I promise you one thing. If you make a mistake, especially like in the public eye, like when I'm making these videos, and I get corrected, guess what? I never forget that again. That is etched in my brain for eternity. Okay? So, it's almost a positive thing when you learn like that. So, yeah. Anyway. I'm just going to keep going here. So yeah, guys, I really, yeah, that's just how I do things. And you know, and I want to say this too. Everybody out there has a different style on YouTube, right? But before I start talking about that, this is the geoelectric field model. This is space weather's effect on our electrical grid, our unnatural electrical components is the words that they use. In other words, transformers, electrical lines, all that stuff. Back at you, brother. Back at you. But this, again, I have to point this out because this really does get glazed over. This is USGS. You know, they're working here with NOAA and everybody else is going on here. But this model was made basically to try to help bridge a forecasting track to tie space weather to earthquakes. And we all know that actually happens. Nobody really denies that. Now, at the degree and what kind of situation or whatever would you know, affect an earthquake, they're trying to pinpoint that down into a more specific thing so they can start integrating it into their forecasting models. So that's why this model was made. But this also gives us a really good look at how this thing affects us. Now, see, you see that update right there? When it does that, that means the imaging just updated and it went to the next thing, but you can definitely see that this one here really shows it really well when we're getting hit. Okay, see how it kind of got intense right there. Now I remember, actually I did a live stream with Scott over at Plan X News. Gosh, it's been probably 3 years ago. I'm not sure if Leisure's in here or not right now. If you are, brother, I'm praying for you, by the way. But he actually sent me a capture of this model, and it was almost solid purple and white. Had some reds in it, but the whole country was like that. We had taken a very serious hit, and nobody had really seen it. So he sent it to me, and of course, went live with Scott, and we talked about it. So, yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about, guys. That Leisure's a cool dude, man, and he's just as much a part of any of this as anybody is, and that's the same for everybody in here. So we all got to help each other, and that's what was going on there. And because I didn't see it, he's seen it. He actually took a screenshot of it and sent it to us. So, yeah. But anyway, you see how it gets pretty intense here. Okay. Now I'm going to take you back over here to this one, because this is actually one that I've not been too familiar with. This is actually the Aurora Oval, is what they call this, right? So this is where they expect to see the aurora. You can see the rest of the planet is in daylight except for right here. This is be the main nighttime imaging right here. Basically, as time passes, this is going to move from right to left, is what's going to happen. Okay, now it might fluctuate. The greens might start, moving down, but you can see where this is at right now. So I wonder what it does if I do that. Oh, okay, we get different imaging there. I didn't know that. See? Check that out. That's Australia, and this would be Southern Lights. Australia Borealis, I guess is what they call them. But if we go here, notice we didn't get that good of an image there. See how that changes your point of view there? So if we back that up, maybe that's going the wrong direction, maybe. Well, no, it's not. But here is obviously North America. So this is what it looks like currently. So in the dark over here, just north of Maine, it looks like, here in British Columbia, over in Canada, they're getting some pretty good aurora. But as these things start hitting, we can come back and look at this again, and this thing is probably going to stretch down. Okay? I like this. I've never seen this part of it. This is cool. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna tell you guys something too. A little fun fact here. Did you guys know that London, England, and Moscow are virtually on the same latitude line? You guys know that? Do you guys know how brutal the winter is in Moscow? But they don't see those conditions in London. Do you guys know why? The Gulf Stream. It is the Gulf Stream waters that keeps London from getting smoked. Okay, because it's pulling that warmer water up and around in the underwater highways that are going on. That's what keeps that happening. If that Gulf Stream wasn't in the position that it's in, and London was wherever, and it's still on the same latitude line, they would be having those same hard winters. Now they oftentimes do get some hard winters, but they're not getting anything like Moscow does. So, and why I bring that up is because our Gulf Stream, number one, is changing. The whole underwater conveyor system is changing. As a matter of fact, let me just do this real quick. This is the global conveyor belt. That's what they call it. Everything is tied together, guys, even underwater. So if we go over here, you see what's happening. This is the Gulf Stream up here. You see what's going on? They're showing this kind of in motion. But when it gets red, that's the warmer waters. You see that? So, and where does it go? Right up by England. So that's what's happening. I'm not sure if it's because the poles are moving, Damo. I really don't, I don't know. A lot of it, here, I'll tell you what changes this. It's salinity, okay? In other words, the amount of salt versus the amount of water, salt water. Why does that matter? Well, it changes how it flows, buoyancy, all these kinds of things, right? We all know that if you put salt in with ice, that's how they used to make ice cream, right? So salt directly affects how something freezes or thaws, all that stuff. So what are we talking about up here? We're talking about glaciers. So when those glaciers are melting, it's changing the salinity of our oceans. It's diluting it probably at some level, you know, but when that's happening, it can change our underwater currents. And that's what we see, right? And, and again, that is actually a normal thing. And again, why are we so special to think that this can't happen to us? I've never understood that line of thinking. I really haven't. It's hard to understand that and hard to get people to be like, hey, look at that. Yeah, you're right. Ripper in there. Rip Curl says salt lowers the melting and freeze point. It's a weird reaction. Most definitely. But it definitely, I'm not sure if, I might be dating myself here a little bit more and aging myself. But I remember my aunt had this big wood container circle. And it had the, like a metal ring on the inside. And you would put salt and ice around in between the metal and the wood. You put your ice cream mix in the middle, and then you turned it with a hand crank. And that's how you made ice cream. They added the salt because it changes that freezing temperature. Okay? That's why they did that. And, I'm sure everybody here has had alcohol or what have you. You can throw vodka or whatever you want, any kind of liquor you want, the freezer. Is it going to freeze? No. Again, another liquid that's not going to do that. That's another chemical, not chemical, but another mineral or whatever. But yeah, you're right. I am. But that's, I remember that as a kid. Homemade ice cream was awesome. But anyway, so I wanted to bring that up too, because I haven't talked about that in a minute, and it is pertinent to, the conversations and anything that we're having as far as global change, because those are the things we're going to start seeing change. And those are the big things, right? So when you start seeing those things move, you better really start paying attention. But anyway, here's our wind speed. Again, everything's moving. It's just going to continue to, blow like this. And again, what's going to happen is as these CMEs roll in, yeah, look at all that magnetic pressure. I mean, anybody that's been watching me for a minute, they know that that's a lot. It's not like we've never seen it before, but if you watch back here, you see it like reverberating. That's exactly what happens. Okay. It's vibrating our magnetic field. So when that's doing that, it's in a more unstable position. So if we're doing that and then we get hit with the CME right behind it, what happens? Well, things get a little jacked up, right? You got an electric ice with goat milk. Huh. Interesting. Hey, John. Pamela, anybody else in there I missed? I can actually only see like 2 people's comments at a time. I usually have the chat put away, but right now it's up a little bit, and I can only got like 2. I can only see 2 of your comments. But anyway, yeah. So let's just go here real quick, and I'm going to show you these most recent blasts, if it'll let me. Hang on. Okay, so I'm gonna have to zoom in on this. I'm gonna have to close out some of this other stuff too. I'm just gonna get rid of that one. I'll get rid of the geoelectric model. All right, get rid of that one. Okay, maybe that'll help. Let's hope. So I'm gonna zoom in, Sometimes, guys, if you ever live streaming and you got a bunch of these little movie tools running, it'll slow you down like crazy. Okay, I know you guys can see those eruptions. Look at that one. That's impressive. I have to say, that's a impressive one. See all that plasma? So let's watch it, see what it does. Let's back it up first. See, we have a flare, bam, and then it erupts. Look at that. Okay, that's the one that they got hitting us more direct, and this is why I said this is the bigger eruption that we've had in this whole event. The flare wasn't as big, but the CME that popped off looked to be. Looks like it shot more plasma out than what we've been seeing from these other CMEs. I mean, look at that. That's a lot of plasma, guys. It really is. That's it's kind of impressive. And again, I have to say that because it is. But let's take a little closer look here. How about that? So there's your eruption. And look how that just gets flung out. Yeah, that thing is... Now, but I want you guys to see that too. I'll back it up. Flare happens, and then eruption. Plasma goes out. Now watch what happens. A lot of that fell right back down to the surface. Okay? So that's something we always keep in mind. You know, look at that big chunk. Now I'm going to back it up some more too, because if you look over here, there was another eruption. Right here. There is no sunspot, nothing right there. Watch what happens. See that filament just lifts right off? Now, I'm not sure how much that made it out, if any. It might not have even made it out far enough to get anywhere. But there was nothing right there. And this is why I tell you guys, you don't have to have a sunspot to get these eruptions. But look at that big old ball of plasma, man. Wow. And something of note here that makes a difference, this is that same sunspot that's been giving us all the issue. Remember what I said yesterday about when they get over here towards the side, that typically when they fire off, they're kind of going to go to our right? Well, this one just went reverse of that. Watch what happens. And this is why I say this stuff is really hard to forecast because of stuff like this. This thing's actually going to take a more easterly direction. And again, it's backwards from what we look at when we look at the sun. Okay? So it erupts right there. Now look at the direction it takes. It didn't go out to the right here, guys. It went this way. Where's Earth? This way. So, yeah. Now, a lot of that looks to be going south of us, obviously. I mean, that's what it looks like. But we don't know for sure. Not yet. There's a lot of miles between us and the sun. So, anyway. I thought that was, yeah, it's pretty impressive, actually. That's a pretty decent size one. Again, it's not no grid down type of thing, unless, those perfect storm conditions happen. So, let's take a look at it in the 211 right here. So I find that pretty useful sometimes to look at it here. Is that the most up-to-date one? Yep. So again, this is just another angstrom. There's one eruption, another one, and then, yeah. Right there. You can see it right on the end. But if you look at the other parts of the sun, this one up here is starting to get active. These down here are starting to produce flares. This one here just kind of popped up. But again, this one down here obviously is the main player right now. But also, we got coronal holes. Not just this one anymore. We got this one too. Okay, I think I just noticed something pretty cool here. You can actually see these two sunspots interact with each other. Watch this. See that? Watch this, and it kind of follows down that way, and then they both erupt, or at least flare. See that? It's like it starts up here and kind of goes whoop. That's just showing more so that things travel on a magnetic connection line. So yeah, okay. And this is going way longer than I ever thought it was going to. Sorry, guys. But you can see this a lot better on this one. See, I mean, you can see the flashing. It's just continually, this one here especially, just continual flaring. Look at that one. We'll take a look at that a little bit deeper here. Check that out. Yeah. Huh. Okay. So, and again, guys, here in the next couple days, we'll stop talking about this because it's going to rotate off. It won't be affecting us at all. Back at you, Pamela. So, now I'm going to explain to you the mistake I made, okay? And I guess, man, I'm going to go ahead and call it a mistake. I just didn't explain it the way that I needed to, okay? Whenever you hear somebody say cannibal CME, thank you. I'm not sure what to call you, because that's some, call you symbol, I guess. The artist formerly known as, I guess. I don't know. But yeah. If you want to drop your first name in there, you can do that or not. You don't have to. I just, yeah. Hate to say, hey, you. But I agree. Hey, Tom. Thank you. But look, guys. I'm going to go ahead and just bring this up here. Now, you guys have heard me talk about an interplanetary magnetic shockwave. What is that? They were able to catch that inside our own solar system for the first time like a couple years ago. What happens is it's basically some sort of space weather, what I'm getting ready to show you. Okay? So one is moving faster than the other. We don't even got to talk about a CME. It could be a solar wind stream or whatever. Okay, Victor, good to know your name. Thank you. But when that happens, that shock wave is caused by these atoms are moving at such a high rate of speed. They catch up with stuff in front of them, these particles, and magnetism is involved, right? It's natural for these things to push away from each other. Okay? Grab two bar magnets or magnets of anything and put same polarity, positive to positive, and start bringing them closer together, and you can feel it, right? So that same principle is in effect in space. So these things are, when you see these CMEs catch up, they're not crashing into one another. It's a build-up, like the snowplow effect. When it's pushing more and more particles, so the density gets higher and higher and higher as it gets closer to the one in front. They never actually, I guess, one eat the other. That's just some term that somebody used a while back, and it kind of caught fire because it does, it's pretty cool to say something like that, right? I mean, that's what most of us think. But it does grab people's attention, and sometimes that's a good thing. But an interplanetary shockwave is that action of them pushing against each other. When they get so close, they boom, and it causes a shockwave. So what I'm saying is, now I'm not saying that the atoms can't crash into each other, because they do. But not enough to really the shock wave is not caused by that. It doesn't happen often enough. So that's what's happening. They're basically pushing against each other, right? And it could kind of even make the CME that's in front go a little faster. It starts, having that influence. So you get that like what I call like a snowplow effect in between the two CMEs. And as it gets closer and closer and closer to the one in front of it, that little small area becomes more and more and more dense. So when that density is at its maximum right when it gets to our planet, that is why you see these bigger numbers when that happens. Okay, it's one of the biggest reasons. It's not that one CME is not eating the other. Okay, they're both there. It's just they're so close to one another that now they appear to be one on these models. These models are not set up to see those kinds of things. So, because I know it looks like they just combine, but they really don't, guys. Okay? And again, I watched Tamitha last night or the night before? I can't remember. I think it was last night after I got off the stream. Sparked my memory to that. And I kind of felt like, man, I really probably shouldn't have even named my video that. The one before this one, or two of them back, I said, hey, Cannibal CME, coming at Earth. Well, that's just the common term for it now, so I just used it. And I really, after I thought about that, I was like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't say that anymore. Maybe I should just say two CMEs really close together hitting the planet. Maybe like a double tap or something like that. Because it's not one eating the other. So if you want a really, really good in-depth explanation and that kind of thing, go check out her last video. Tamitha Sco. She talks about all these eruptions too. I was able to watch probably, 25-30 minutes of it. It is kind of long. But it's just packed with a lot of info. And she goes into detail. She's explaining magnetic fields on the sun and why things are happening and why things are so hard to forecast when we have, a sunspot that just keeps blowing, right? So let's go here. But I did want to, bring that to your guys' attention. So just know that if I ever say Cannibal CME, that's what I mean. I'm not saying that one's eating the other. I'm just saying that it looks like that on the models. So, and I'm going to try not to even use that term anymore. It does draw people in, but, I'm just trying to get the right stuff out there. And if I can get a couple more people to watch the show, it could, help them understand something too. So, and that's a cold hard fact about YouTube, guys. All right. I just have to say it, that sometimes you've got, like with your thumbnails and your titles, and just so you guys understand, because I hear people calling other people's, nobody's really said it too much about mine, because I really keep mine kind of on the, down a little bit there. They call it clickbait, right? Well, it's not clickbait if you talk about what's in your title. It's not clickbait. Because you might grab somebody that would not necessarily stop and watch your video with a pretty intense title or something like that. Now, you don't want to go way overboard, okay? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, sometimes you got to kind of build it up a little bit and make it look intense or what have you, or just look better. More people are going to click on it, guys. That's as simple as that. And I'm not trying to get like, my thing is not about getting views. You guys know that. My thing is not about getting subscribers. I like to do that, okay? Because I know that I'm doing something. I know I'm talking to more people now. That's why. I don't monetize this channel, guys. So, that view count, as far as that goes, means nothing to me, really. But I look at my view count, my subscriber count, because it lets me know that I'm doing, I'm doing something that's positive and things are still growing. People are still watching. That's why I look at those numbers. But yeah. So anyway, when you come across somebody's thumbnail and you immediately think, oh, clickbait, fear mongering, all this other stuff, right? Don't be so quick to judge, because a lot of times there's reasons behind it. Now, I will say this: if they say something in the title and you go click on their video and you watch their whole video and they don't once mention what's in that title, that's wrong. Okay? That's just an outright lie, is what that is. All right? So, anyway. Little YouTube creator school going on, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, guys, so that's what's been going on here, guys. And go give SpaceLater.com some love, too. Another CME is coming. This is the one they're talking about with the double blast. Remember I spoke about the double blast yesterday? These are the two that are really close together, and yeah. Hey, Dan, what's up? Hawkeye Man. I thought I seen somebody else in there. It's here. I'm trying to... Oh, you're third in line. Okay. I was wondering, who the heck is that? And why is that person a mod? Sorry, third in line. You just changed your name. Awesome. Anyway, guys, yeah. So, we're going to be doing a show tomorrow night. We go live at 8 o'clock over here on the Lifeboat. Guys, please come check us out. I really appreciate it. You guys have been awesome. You guys have been doing the coming over and trusting me and coming over here and checking it out. If again, we don't judge people over here. We don't do any of that kind of thing. We, just all I ask is you guys come over and check it out. Just look. That's all I want. Now, I want to show you guys something too, because over here, I want to take you guys down here, because some of these videos, I shared some really, really personal stuff. Okay? And I know that kind of interests people that watch me for a long time and don't really have that background of what I've been through in my life. I know everybody here knows I've been in recovery for 11 years from an opiate addiction. And, my family has kept me on the straight and narrow as long, and my drive to be that way. But, without my family, I don't know that I've made it 11 years without ever relapsing like I have. But again, people, how'd you make 11 years and never relapse? Well, like I tell everybody over here on the Lifeboat, if you knew my wife, if you knew my kids, knew my sister, my mom and dad, you would never even ask me that question. And that's just the God's honest truth. So even though I'm doing it for them, I'm doing it for them because I need to do it for me. Right? So that's kind of what's going on. But I want to show you guys a couple videos here. I'm not going to play the videos, but I did a couple interviews here with Tommy. You guys can see that. And then, yeah, this one. I'm not going to talk about this one. I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to put a link in here for you guys. And the only reason why I'm showing you guys this one is because I know that a lot of people go through these kinds of things. It's a hard thing to go through. Okay? You can read the title. I'm not going to say the title because the algorithm hates it. So thanks, man. I mean, we're all there, all of us are. But anyway, I'm going to put this link and go check it out because I think it can help people. I really do. I went through some really hard things there, and believe it or not, addiction was not part of my life then. At least not a known part of my life. I think I was in the beginning stages of it, but I ended up in a hospital for 4 or 5 days. That kind of thing. I had a plan. Let's put it to you that way. And I was putting my plan in motion, and yeah, thank God for my wife and the baby monitor. Okay, the baby monitor pretty much did it. Okay, if you want to know what that means, go watch the video. I talk about it there. I'm not going to talk about it anymore because it's like a punch in the gut to me. I don't even really like even looking at this, but I've had some people dealing with this, email me, and this is the best way for me to help you guys. Anybody that's struggling with those kinds of thoughts, please go watch this, and you know, hopefully it can help you. But I just can't talk about it right now because it just would just mash my mind. But also there is a early on the lifeboat, we were writing goodbye letters. Oh, guys, look, check it out. There's Rip. Here, we'll do this too. We're going to put Ripper's link in there too. He did an awesome interview, guys. You guys got to come check it out. I mean, honestly, Rip Curl, Ripper, if you're still here, man, I love you, brother. I mean, that's just, you're freaking awesome, dude. But go check that one out. And then, I want to bring you guys down to, we wrote goodbye letters to our drug. A lot of us did. It's not a requirement or nothing like that. It's just something we did, and it helped. It helped me, I know that. But it's really early on. I think mine says, I think the title of it's First Mate's Goodbye Letter or something like that. It's around, you guys will be able to see it. Okay. Remember them thumbnails, Tommy? Oh, man. Okay. There's Joe's interview. I think it's... trying to find it. I'm sorry, guys. I shouldn't... Here it is. There it is. I can't believe I found it. I wrote a goodbye letter to my drug, guys. You know, my personality is to try to keep things a little bit based. There's a link to that one. That's a pretty short one if you guys want to check that one out. What was it? Yeah, 8-minute long video. Right? Is Kiss Freak in here? Yeah. Oh, I know what you're saying, 7th. Okay. Yeah, Kiss Freak did an interview also. Joe Birdwell did. A lot of people did, guys. Alan Ballantyne, Niall. There's been a lot of people over here doing interviews. But, well, Johnny Scoville, guys. That's Tommy's brother, in case you guys didn't know that. The Pepper Legend himself. So, yeah. Yeah. But go check out those videos. Just give it a shot. And if you like what you see, if you're helping, if it helps you at all, let us know that. And, you know, subscribe and stick around and come to our live streams, because it's a family gathering in a group setting. And we talk, you know, pretty much just about what we need to talk about. Sometimes we'll start with the topic and it gets way off to the left because somebody needs help. And that's how we want it. If you're drunk, if you're high, we don't care. You come over and talk to us. There is no judgment. All right? Oh, yeah, 7th, I know what you're saying. Yeah, Kiss Freak was a drug dealer in Canada, guys. And have you ever heard a drug dealer apologize to the people he sold drugs to and their families? If you want to hear that, you come on over here to the lifeboat, because it's there. Kiss Freak did that. I'm not sure if I can find it right now. Yeah, but I don't want to drag this on any longer. I know this is space weather, but that is something that is just near and dear to my heart, and I love everybody over there. I want everybody to come check it out. But check out Rip, Mark Pyers, Marv, and anybody else. Yeah, drawing a blank. Yeah. So, and thanks to all the new people that's been coming around, from Marv and from Pastor Bagley's channel and from just everywhere. Okay. Everybody's welcome here. So please come check us out. But, yeah, believe it or not, guys, that man, there on the lifeboat with the lifeboat icon there, he sometimes knows what he's talking about when it comes to addiction. He probably teach you how to rob a bank too. I don't know. Just kidding. Just kidding. Anyway, guys, come check us out. So, God bless. Yahusha saves. And if anything else happens, guys, I'll be here with an update. And yeah, I hope you guys can. Hey, Joanna. Oh, that's Joni. Hey, Joni. Yeah, drink this Kool-Aid.